Well, good morning, good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all the ships at sea. This is Dennis, and it's our live, and a lot of stuff to talk about. Actually, a lot of stuff. Mike will be joining us a little bit late, but I might as well start off with going over the last video I just did, and kind of some points I saw in the comments. And it was on this video, a brand divided, pretty much how nobody in current Chrysler land actually cares about the old Chrysler products. And it really is a real thing. I literally went to a show that basically had all new Challengers there, basically, and there was some new Charger things. And I literally, nope, they didn't even talk to me. I had my 72 Charger. They didn't even talk to me. And but this is pretty much where we are with the state of Chrysler at this point. Well, whatever it is, Stellantis. So I got a few things like I have people saying that the Velares weren't that bad. I was alive when the Velares were around. Actually, my family owned one. My mother bought a Volare. It was the second new car she ever bought, and that thing disintegrated on us. And not only did it disintegrate, she got a slant in the car, and the slant was literally the most pathetic thing I've ever seen in my entire life. This car couldn't get out of the way. She came from a B210, and actually, I think the B210 was faster than the Volare with the slant 6 in it. But that car rusted everywhere. It didn't just rust on the fenders; they rusted everywhere, and they never really solved the rust problem with the Velares, because they still did the washing in water. Then they rust proofed it, because that was a great idea, because sure, why not? And they all through the run, they just basically rusted within a year or two of being sold. And we didn't even keep the car for, I don't think she kept it for 5 years, which was amazing. Which then led us to she ended up getting a 81 Imperial, I think in 85. Hey, 2 Diesel Larry. And now I also have firsthand experience on the Imperials because we owned one. She loved that car. It was slow. It was thirsty. The fuel injection, we did get the fuel injection to keep working on that car. But the 81 Imperial, it was this thing. It was very finicky. The thing about this car, though, is that, and I saw comments on this, these cars, it wasn't that the fuel injection had problems. Hey, Autobot. It wasn't that just the fuel injection had problems. They had quality issues with this car. Like serious quality issues. They had problems with the cruise control, with the electronic dash. Electronic dashes got replaced often in these cars. In fact, the one we had, the dash had already been replaced, and the car was only, I think, 5 years old at that point, and the dash had already been replaced on it. They had, just braking problems. They had exhaust problems, all sorts of electronic problems on these cars. And the car was over $21,000 in 1982 because the price had gone up. It was $21,000. The average price of a car was around 10, maybe less. And so this was like up there above the Cadillac, because I saw a comment about the Cadillac and their 468. The 468 could be fixed because all you did was get rid of the the controller to get rid of the cylinder deactivation, and it was easy. This car, because the fuel injection was so complex and so inferior, it was so complex, and it ended up being inferior in the real world, even though technologically it was much more advanced than other people's fuel injection, that to fix that was a massive change on the car, because you had to change the fuel pump, you had to change everything on top of you had to put a thermoquad on there, change the cluster had to get changed. It was a massive undertaking just to go from a fuel injected Imperial to a carburetor, and you paid over $20,000 for the honor of having this. And also, these cars with that had 140 horsepower, weighed probably in the ballpark of 4,500 pounds, and did 0 to 60 in 13 seconds. This was really not an incredible. I mean, it rode beautifully, but it, honest to God, was a really, really poor car, especially at the high end of luxury. And the other part is that I saw comments about, Chrysler. They were trying to redo the company. It was Iacocca. Lee Iacocca was Lee Iacocca. He was, everything was about Lee. I mean, he was in the commercials. He was the face forward of Chrysler Corporation. And he's kind of the reason that Chrysler Corporation ended up having to sell itself in 1998. They actually ousted him in 1993 because he just literally would not get out of the way and kept pushing out K-car variants. And even though they, Hal Sperlich was the father of the K-car, Lee Iacocca was actually at Ford beforehand and was trying to push the same type of platform to Ford in the mid-70s. Chrysler did not need to go full front-wheel drive and get rid of all their old cars in the 80s because they needed it for government. Ford kept their V8s. General Motors kept their V8s. They could have easily had 2 K-car lines and then made the M body and even kept the F body, which actually became the J body anyway. And they could have had a decent lineup of cars and maybe not have gotten bought out by Mercedes-Benz when it in 98, because they were just basically lost. They had absolutely no product and nothing in the pipeline. And that really is the legacy of Lee Iacocca as we go down the road. Lee Iacocca really did some brand damage because he was unchecked at Chrysler. He was checked at Ford. That's why he got fired. Lee Iacocca got fired by the deuce because of him wanting to do things like make a front-wheel drive car for Ford, which was not going to happen. So I mean, literally, they basically just went and made the same car over and over again until and the other thing is that Chrysler didn't need to keep yes, Iacocca was a tyrant. But he learned that from the deuce, Henry Ford II. He was a tyrant too. But, he at least had checks and balances and understood what Ford was, because he was Ford blood. He understood what Ford stood for. I don't know what Iacocca was aiming for, trying to make it more of a European company, I guess. But, the other part is that they didn't need to keep doing that because they had so much money. They were not broke after 1984. I think 84, they were no longer broke. They had enough money that in May of 1987, and they'd been brokering this for a while, but in May of 1987, they bought GMC for $1.5 billion in cash. In cash, they bought them. That's how much money. And back then, that's the equivalent of, it's got to be the equivalent of like $5 billion today. They had a lot of money and they wanted to have Jeep. But unfortunately, that also, the getting Jeep, but then they ended up just being lazy and they had nothing in the pipeline. So that's why they ended up making the LH, which was the LH, which was a Renault front-wheel drive car that they were going to introduce, because AMC was working closer at Renault through the early 80s. And so they actually took this platform, and that's what the LHS and all those cars from the 90s to the early 2000s, that cab forward design that actually really, it was very ahead of its time in the looks, but it actually was not a very good car. As time told, it wasn't very good. But such as life. And here's the other thing. Chrysler, because of Iacocca's focus on that K car, used the Slant 6 to 1984, and then, hey, hi Sue M, how you doing? They used the Slant 6 to 84 and never developed another six-cylinder. They didn't develop a six-cylinder till 1990, and that was the 3.3 liter that ended up in the LHS and the LH platforms. Ended up being the front-wheel drive cars, and then they converted it also to use it in the Dakotas, and basically, it was too little, too late, because Ford and General Motors through the '80s made their money on a V6. If you really think about the early '80s, most of those Thunderbirds were powered by the 3.8 liter. And of course, General Motors had the 3.8 also that they used in everything. So basically, I mean, it's pretty sad that they just literally put all their eggs in the K car basket, and they had money to do things, and they just didn't, which is really kind of sad when you think about it. So a lot of on that video, I mean, literally all that damage for that, the damage extended from 1980 to 2008, where they didn't make anything of any consequence rear-wheel drive, and nothing that would be considered a performance. So you lost at least 1 to 2 generations of people to blasé, while Ford and General Motors had already come out with powerful cars by the mid '80s. So they kept their entire fan base, because my family was a Chrysler family. Literally, the last Chrysler we bought was a Cordoba. We bought an '83 Cordoba at auction, and it got hit. Of course, driving in New York, all those Chryslers got hit, but the car was just mid. I mean, honestly, it was very mid. It had power door locks, but it had power windows and manual door locks. This is Chrysler. They had the plush, and it had that plush velvet, the crushed velvet interior. It was gray with a blue interior. But that was the last Chrysler we bought. I only have owned one Chrysler product, which was my Charger, because by the time I was really able to buy any cars, there was nothing for Chrysler I wanted, because all the '70s cars were garbage and the '80s cars I didn't want. I mean, what was I going to buy? Dodge. I almost thought of buying a '86 Dodge Diplomat, but then I'm like, why? And so I ended up buying I ended up actually, a real car I bought was a '95 Thunderbird, because it was just weird. I mean, I had Escort, EXP, a Grand Marquis, and then a Thunderbird, because there was nothing from Chrysler I wanted. I didn't want a front-wheel drive car. I really didn't want a front-wheel drive car. I had 2 of them, and I didn't like them. So and Chrysler didn't offer me anything to me. So it's kind of weird. So let's get into the big news, since we're starting off. Thunderbird, great wine. Yeah. Actually, that '95 Thunderbird was not a bad car. The only problem it had was the torque converters were very weak on them, the transmissions in general, and the top end of that 4.6 wasn't very good. The valve seals weren't very good on that engine, and that thing started blowing smoke about 90,000 miles. So it was kind of bittersweet. I got 110,000 out of that car, but honestly, every piece of plastic on the interior broke. It would eat front brakes. It was interesting car, though. We called it the Thunder Chicken because it was a Thunder Chicken. So let's get with this. Hopefully Mike comes soon. So remember our little friends at First Brands? Our friends at First Brands. Well, remember I kept on saying when I was breaking the story that this doesn't look like it's going to be a very long-term good story here, and it isn't, because we're coming up on the end of January, and they are killing 3 auto parts brands. 3. And you wouldn't believe what they're killing. They are now ceasing operations of Brake Parts Inc., Cardone, and Autolite. Yes, Autolite spark plugs are going to stop being made. This is a major problem. We have now lost. You're still working? Wow, better than me. We have now lost Cardone, which is the remanufacturer of every brake booster. I mean, literally, go look online. You could go look right now. Every brake booster is now Cardone when you buy a rebuild. Brake Parts Inc. makes a lot of the small parts you need for brakes. And of course, Autolite spark plugs. We have now lost probably 15% of the spark plug manufacturing easily, because Autolite is a major spark plug brand, and they are now gone. So, yeah, think how far it's fallen, because they were a major NASCAR sponsor, and they make all kinds of spark plugs, including hard to find OEM replacements and that automakers abandoned long ago. Cardone would have the largest impact, remanufacturing components like water pumps and brake calipers, and also boosters, selling like new parts at significantly low prices. Brake Part Inc. covers all kinds of brake components from brands like Vortex and Race-Bestis. So basically, all your little brake springs, cables, all those little parts, you better make sure you run out and get some. If you need these for your cars, you need to go out and get this stuff. If you use Autolite spark plugs, I would suggest you get them very soon. Honestly, if you have a problem with your brakes that you need to address in the near future, I would do it in the near future, because there's going to be a part shortage, and it's nothing about about people going out and hoarding. It is literally the stuff isn't going to be there. Well, color me shocked. First Brand stated, making headlines, they could not sell the brands. No kidding. There was no way to unwind this. They now have a U.S. Justice Department probe, and they are also suing James, the ex-CEO of the company, for basically making money disappear. This is where we are now. This is a disaster at this point. They've been trying to sell assets, but how are you going to sell something with all that lead attached to it? They started marketing itself for sale, either whole or in parts, part of the effort to exit Chapter 11. The problem is that First Brands is part of the supply chain industry for automakers, and there'll be ramifications if it goes completely under. Enter Ford and GM. And actually, I have a full article here. Ford and GM among automakers working to save parts supplier. So at Ford, the Ford Authority reported last fall, a company called First Brands, which sells a variety of aftermarket parts, filed for bankruptcy. While First Brands sells most products directly to consumers, it also supplies parts to automakers, such as Ford and General Motors. Well, remember, First Brands makes Philips light bulbs. Ford and General Motors don't make light bulbs. They'll buy them from the cheapest supplier. They still use a lot of light bulbs in cars. Even though there's LEDs, they are still using a bunch of light bulbs, wiper blades, ANCO. I mean, they literally are a major wiper blade manufacturer also. Ford and GM sell a lot of product. I mean, between them, they sell like 2.5 million vehicles every year in the United States. And this supplier, literally, if they supply like 2 light bulbs, I mean, that's a lot of light bulbs in the grand scheme of things. So what they're trying to do, General Motors and Ford, are trying to offer a financing package to help keep the company operating during Chapter 11. The supplier is reportedly scrambling to raise funds to seek potential sale, and discussions are reportedly near the finish line. So obviously with the previous thing, the finish line, it keeps on moving. Hey, Barbara. We were wondering, where is Barbara? Hi, Barbara. How you doing? So they're scrambling, and now, as it seeks to acquire the assets it needs to stay afloat, First Brands is in the process of winding down its North American operations, which I just talked about. And it's still unclear just how much Ford relies on the company for various parts, but according to the report, it's probably the most exposed and the one that's going to get the most risk. This is bad. I mean, honestly, this is as bad as it gets. So Ford is trying to save them, but unfortunately, when you're trying to give this company money, you're going to have to give them. You're going to have to get something back in return, because be held harmless, basically not to be commingled with the other money, because there's Department of Justice investigations into this company. The ex-CEO owner is being sued. There's money missing. I mean, we're going to have multiple lawsuits on this. We're going to have multiple investigations at this point. This company, to keep it afloat, is going to be an absolute miracle. And Ford, obviously, the way that, because a lot of the Ford products still use just basic light bulbs, regular wiper blades, and all this type of stuff, and they seem to do less in house than General Motors. So, hi, hello, Barbara. Hi, how you doing? So this is really kind of got to the point where these two, Ford and General Motors, have to try to make the company survive. But I'm trying to figure out if this is really going to actually happen, just because of everything that is happening at this point. It is really getting kind of scary. Yeah, I just don't know if their Ford and General Motors can actually throw the money out there to be able to keep this company from folding like a cheap lawn chair, because they said they were going to run out of money by this Saturday. And this article was written on the 27th. This article about them killing off 3 brands, pretty much stopping operations, and was today. So they have 3 days to get anything, to maybe get these parts, like brake parts. I can imagine that they make parts, little parts for Ford and General Motors for their brake parts. Yeah, because they don't make the springs, the little sliders, all those things on the brake system. They're not made in house. They're made by a supplier. And usually when a company, they makes a car, they're going to look at the suppliers that are out there that are available, that can, make the stuff for them and make it for at the least cost, because that's the other part. Ford and General Motors are always looking to save, even Stellantis, everybody, they're looking to save whatever they can when they make a vehicle. A dollar a car, when you sell like 1.3 million cars, that's $1.3 million. That becomes real money. And that's why they go to outside suppliers like this. It's cheaper than trying to make the part yourself. But nobody ever expected to have First Brands completely collapse. I mean, honestly, this is worse. And what's so strange is that now what's coming out that Ford and General Motors are trying to help. Honestly, I don't think that Ford and General Motors thought that this was that bad, because honestly, especially Ford with so much exposure, they honestly should have been coming very early on to try to front some money to this company, or figure a way to buy a part of it or something to keep it from getting to this point. Because now we're getting to the point where if they don't get a big influx of cash by this weekend, they're saying that they're pretty much done, which is going to be, this is not going to be great. And if this drags on, like I had said, this First Brands is going to drag on for months. It may drag on to the end of this year, and there's no easy fix for this. This is really a major thing that is still not being reported on mainstream media. ABC World, ABC News, CBS News, NBC News, Fox News, they're not reporting on this they should be having a story on this every week because this affects you and me. And I mean, it affects us a lot. This is going to affect thousands, hundreds of thousands of people's jobs because if Ford can't get parts for a set of cars, they stop the assembly line. They literally will partially build cars and put them, and then you can't just pay people to stand around. They'll furlough them. So has gotten to a point of just of really high danger to the aftermarket parts community, and also for new cars. We are now at that point. So I'm very scared at this point that that they're not going to be able to find a way to fix it and keep any part of this company running. It is such a disastrous mess that I really all I keep on thinking about when I see this is Enron. It's literally the only thing that keeps popping in my head is Enron, because Enron was cooking books. I mean, it was a publicly traded company, which immediately hurt hundreds of thousands of people. But it literally screwed a lot of people over. It made a mess of the entire energy sector. This is going to do the same thing for the parts sector, because we're going to lose a lot of parts. I mean, right now, we've lost Autolite, we've lost Cardone, and we've lost the brake parts. And now, what's next? I mean, because, all right, Trico, this is probably an OEM. Trico wipers are probably, or an Anco are probably the OEMs. So they're going to be gone. They're probably holding these out so they can try to do something. But honestly, draw tight. I mean, you're looking at what's going to be cut next. And, the towing stuff may be cut next. Barbara, you had a dead battery because of the cold weather. This is what will kill batteries. There's no way around it. I mean, basically, you should probably, it's a good tip. Probably have before you go into winter, especially where it's cold, have the battery tested, load tested, see how it is. Because, if it's just starting to get a little weak, it can get toasted as soon as it gets super cold, because the battery chemical reaction slows down. That kind of sucks, though, especially when it's cold out there. Your battery die. It's bad enough when it's hot. Can't imagine when it's cold. So let's see. But yeah, so this whole First Brands is now just getting worse. And there's at this point, I don't know if there's look at this. My God, I'm going to complain that it's going to be below freezing tonight. -4. That's, Barbara, that's cold. I don't envy you, actually. That sounds horrible, actually. But this First Brands thing is just going to get to the point where, I got distracted. Yeah, on their towing products, these things, because they make multiple, these are large. Draw Tight is a massive supplier of like hitches and other ancillary products for vehicles, aftermarket. And Reese also huge aftermarket for towing equipment, like your hitches, your balls, all those pieces. And Tecumseh, which actually makes brake controllers. So you're looking at these companies that, honestly, you're going to have a giant hole in the towing in your aftermarket towing market. And I don't know. See, here's the thing, though. I don't know who supplies Ford and General Motors and Stellantis with their hitch setups for the factory tow packages, because it's got to come from somewhere. Maybe they build them in house. I never looked into this because it's kind of weird, because it's one of those things you just take for granted. But I know aftermarket Draw Tight is literally where what everybody gets put on, or a Reese. This is the stuff that gets used. So, and it's not good. It's really battery's only good for about 8 years. That's if it's a good battery. Usually 5 years is 4 now it's like 4 years. I've literally have had such bad luck. Even AGMs, you're supposed to get AGMs for 8 years, but God, I don't know. Uh, you've got Vintages in here. Thank you, Vintage, for coming by. Where are you? There you are. There's Vintage. 76 Viper Green Beetle. Uh, but look at this. Benjamin. Oh my dear Lord, -8. No, I can't. No, this is too cold. But so now we have this whole issue with where now the pieces are starting to fall apart on the company. And now by the end of the first quarter, we'll definitely know how bad it's going to be. So I just don't know how much more the market can take, because it's already getting hard to get filters. And I said this when it happened, that it's gonna buy stuff that you need, because it's gonna get hard. And it's not because I buy Frams, it's just because that part of the market is now gone, so people are gonna buy something else. So there's only so much manufacturing, and these places are gonna be shuttered. They're not gonna be making a different product, and it's not good, not good at all. This is really look at this. Oh, and wow, 76 in Phnom Pen. Man, it sounds so tropical. Damn, it sounds beautiful, because it's 43 here. It's 43 in Tampa. It's really miserably cold. I can't take it. But yeah, so this is going to be ongoing. I'm going to keep on reporting on this. I'm going to keep on doing videos on this. I'm going to keep everybody updated on this, because this is going to get bad. It has just started to get bad. Well, because we've now lost 3 of their brands. They're basically, I imagine they're just furloughing everybody and just shutting the plants down, because they don't have any money to operate. So we've lost 3, and we're gonna start losing a lot more. And it just depends, I guess, on how much it costs for overhead for that division, and how profitable that division is. But I can't imagine like Anco and Trico staying around much longer, because there's a lot of competition in wiper blades. I just can't see that happening. And then you're gonna start having like probably Centric go away, get stopped. Carter, I have a feeling that Carter's gonna go stopped. I mean, Phillips. I mean, honestly, you're thinking like Phillips and Ray Bestis will probably be the last things that they nuke. But it's pretty scary at this point. Very, very scary. And I'm just kind of concerned. I'm really concerned over this, because we're at the point now where things are already very expensive. Now I have a feeling there's going to be an incredible inflation in the used part market, because there's so much supply missing at this point. And we're just going to absolutely you know go there. I'm still waiting for Fluno, so I'm going to jump over 2 things that I was going to talk to him about, and we're going to go to my favorite company here. Uh, we're gonna go to Stellantis, because why not? So it's everybody out there that has vehicles knows that that's Ram got split off from Dodge in 2013, I believe, by Fiat, because Fiat uh basically Fiat, I think, was starting to plan how to break the company up, because there was no reason to do this. Dodge Ram was, synonymous for years. It was since the inception of the Ram, it was a Dodge. And there was no reason to do this. You just created more marketing. You created, more, just more separate designs. You ended up having to spend more money to have a whole different division. So my least favorite person at Dodge right now, Tim Kanuskis, still says Dodge Ram and believes the formal merger wouldn't matter much to most buyers. Yes and no. The thing is, this is silly thought. Um, because it's silly thought because you're spending extra money on marketing by having a Ram brand, not just a Dodge brand. If it was just Dodge, if it was Dodge Ram pickup trucks, it would be a lot less money spent on individual marketing, individual brochures. Oh, hi, how are you? So this really doesn't make any sense. And Kuniskis really is like a puzzle to me because he seems like he's such a car guy, but he just doesn't understand. He's almost like he doesn't understand the market, or he just doesn't really want to. I don't know. I just don't see big leadership out of him. I see he likes to push fun products. It's just really weird that you're going to do this where you keep the CEO says Dodge Ram. When he talks to people, he says Dodge Ram, and he's younger than me. And I don't understand why you would do this. It's been more than 16 years since the late Sergio Marchionne made the still debated decision to split Dodge and Ram into two separate brands. Dodge would focus on muscle cars, SUVs, and minivans, and Ram took over as a standalone truck division. Once again, not making much sense. Puzzle? Where? Oh, actually, Puzzle's right there. Hi, Puzzle. Yeah, she's just watching the show. Yes, it's the tops from. Yes, it is the top from Inception. Yes. Wow. And it's really kind of sad that that they would literally have the opportunity just to roll it back because Dodge itself at this time is in a lot of trouble, and I'll show that in a few minutes because Dodge is really not doing well, and bringing the trucks back into the fold. I love this Tony Imperial 3338 with 60 yes, because they were front wheel drive. And then your 39, which was just basically the 5.2 or 318, two cylinders lopped off, was a 90. But they came along so late. That was the sad part is that I'll just let's go to this. But that's really the sad part that those engines didn't come along to the 90s while Ford and General Motors were making a living off of V6s. My uncle literally had three Thunderbirds and then a Ford LDD2. All of them were 3.8 powered. All of them had the Ford V6. But there was nothing from Chrysler that could compete with that, or the 3800 from General Motors, which is just an incredible. The 3800 is a really great motor, a phenomenal motor. And it's kind of funny how they had, like, the 3.9 was a good V6. You had the ability to take the 318, slice two cylinders off, and make a decent six-cylinder. And you could have done that in 85 to replace the slant. But Iacocca had no desire to do this. He literally had no desire to make a V6. He was literally going to sit there and just make front wheel drive 4 cylinders all day long and just run with it. They had, they even the first 6-cylinder was in the minivan, and that's what they used in the Maserati TC. That incredible product that he and the head of Maserati thought up was be a great idea. And that didn't work out. So I did a video on that, and that was it's really depressing, actually, now that I look back on it. Bring back the minivan. The minivan's dead. They have a minivan. Barbara, they have a minivan. It's called the Chrysler. It's the only product Chrysler has, and it's really mid. In fact, don't buy one. The Chrysler minivan, which I can't even remember what the hell it's called now because it has a 3.8 in it, the Pentastar, and it was a 3.5, whatever. It's that Pentastar that's in that has a problem where the head gasket gives up on the part of the V that's closest to the firewall, and the one it was closest to the firewall, and so what happens is the head gasket blows on that. the cylinder fills up with coolant. You go to start the car or minivan, and the piston comes up, hits water, which does not compress, and you bend the entire drivetrain. Because still hasn't fixed the problem. Still the same. There's still the same minivan that still has the same problem. They have it. It's just not a very good. This is not a very good product. Let's see. Ford 3.8 V6 blue head gases, 3 liter V6 was better. I don't know. I mean, we never had any problems with the 3.8. It seemed very reliable. I mean, my aunt used to drive 80 miles a day, and the car was fine. I think you had to stand on top of the cooling systems because they did not like getting hot. Yeah, Honda and Toyota make very good minivans. Yes, they do. But right now, the thing is, minivans are falling out of favor because everybody wants an SUV or a crossover. Because I mean, I know women that are moms, and they didn't want them. They bought a little SUV. I think they bought end up buying Hyundais or Kias because you get more bang for the buck. And that's kind of the whole thing, is that you literally get a lot more bang from the buck you buying from them because you're not paying for union people. But yeah, the Toyota minivan, I think you could get 250,000 out of it. Same thing with the Odyssey. The Odyssey the only issue it has is a fuel pump problem that I know of, because my friend had that problem with hers. But the thing had 200,000 miles on it. What about Al? Of course, would take a Chevy van decked out. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, especially if you got the inline 6 in that van, because that inline 6 was actually pretty stout. Or I guess a 350, just keep maintenance on it. But any of those vans from the 70s actually would be really cool to own. The whole thing. My cousin has a 2020 Chrysler Voyager and currently has 140,000 miles. Well, God bless him. That's good living right there, because that Pentastar is not a great engine. It really isn't. It's just and Fiat nor Stellantis go around fix anything. They literally have engines that keep problems, and they just kind of just leave them be till they have problems some more, and then eventually they try to fix them. But why? I don't know why. Oh. Oh, yeah, the front-wheel drive ones, yeah. The mid-90s front-wheel drive 3.8s, yeah. The front-wheel drive ones, it was too compact. The 3.8 was you squeezing a very big V in a very tiny area. And so you so when you go and you put all that tight space in there, it gets hot, and it's the heat that causes the head gasket to blow. 90% of the time, it's overheating that blows the head gasket, and it's usually from a cooling problem. Mike is now texting me. Hold on one second, because I really want to get into. I have a BMW thing, and I want to get him here. So, yeah, the 3.8 because that would be in the Taurus and the Sable. And honestly, I didn't hear. My grandfather was still he's still doing warranty stuff, and they really didn't have that many problems with them. I mean, of all the, really not a lot. Ford was not that bad, especially in the 90s. They actually had stuff pretty down. It wasn't like it was a mass. They had problems on mass. Yeah, both models. But it happens, but I don't remember them having like fleets of those cars in there. I remember the original AOD transmissions kind of not liking to keep working, because there were many a time I saw one of those that was absolutely in pieces on the one guy that used to build the transmissions. He went and he would do a couple a week, and he could actually do one. He'd do like in less than less than a day, he can rebuild the transmission, and they got paid like I think 13 hours to work on one of those. Pardon me for a second while I actually try to do some production stuff here because all right, now I'm back. Yeah, so it was just weird. The but see, the thing is, all those things got fixed on those things, and then they kept changing the transmissions. Now with the 10-speed, there's massive problems with them. Wow. Oh my god, a fully stocked bar in a 70s van. That's the only way to rock and roll, truly. Truly the only way to rock and roll. I love that. So, as we wait for Mike to come in, because I know he's trying to, let's continue on with this bizarro thing with Ram and Dodge. Because now you have a car line that literally the Dodge is now just the Charger and the Durango. That's it. That's all they got. And the Charger's not a high production car. Even with the inline six, it's a very low production car. It's like $60,000. You're not going to be selling 200,000 of those cars. And the Durango is old. It's like Methuselah old. And they sold a lot this year because they put a lot of cash on the hood. And that's why I'm waiting for next month. They're going to have the financials. And I can't imagine the financials for 2025 are going to be really good. And I just can't imagine that. So, and they want to go into NASCAR. It's going to be Ram and NASCAR, which is weird. I figure you'd want Dodge. Everybody wants to get a Dodge Ram. It's not this, and he says the same thing. It isn't the same thing. This is literally where you have the point where the market is telling you that that's a Dodge Ram, and you don't want to do this. I don't understand. A lot of times I don't understand their logic over at Stellantis. It's almost like they like to do things the hardest way possible. Yeah, Dodge trucks just sounds better. Ram doesn't sound good. Plus, they have the female reproduction system as their symbol. It's really not masculine. Truly not masculine. I don't grasp it. And I don't know where he is. But I just don't get it. And they just literally do these things to make you not do it. I mean, they say here Ram moved 431,000 units, which sounds big, but I think they were in third place by a long shot. I mean, that is just not good. I mean, and Dodge sold 101,000 vehicles total in 2025. Now, if they're combined, you would have had a division that would have sold 600,000 vehicles. That sounds a hell of a lot better than a division that sells 100,000 vehicles, because you're not even paying for the facilities at that point. So it's really kind of strange and weird, and I just don't grasp it. I just don't understand what they're trying to accomplish. I don't know if they know what they want to accomplish. I don't know what this guy wants to accomplish, because he just thinks the Hemi and everything's a solution when it just isn't. So I just don't know anymore with this car company. And it really breaks the divide down between, the old and new, because I did that video. And honestly, if you go on to like, the Dodge website, they kind of a little bit to the older cars, but there's really not a lot of respect given to them. Like Ford does a lot for the old Mustangs. They have a lot of stuff built in. Chevrolet, the same thing. There's all the history. You go to and you want to buy aftermarket parts for the older cars, they're available. There are plenty of crate engines available for your older cars. Stellantis doesn't have that. There are no crate engines. There are no old school crate engines available for any of those cars, even though they own the patents for them. Like, you can't run out and buy a new 360. It does not exist. There is like a new 5.9 Magnum. You can't buy one. There is no brand new crate engine you can go out and buy and just drop it in. I mean, they don't have access to the 440 anymore because that was sold off. I mean, they scrapped that. That's why aftermarket companies were doing that. And look who showed up.
Better late than never.
Yeah.
Better late than never. Bundled up like a Goomba, with the tracksuit here. Oh, how's everybody doing tonight?
I think everybody's doing pretty good. I went over First Brands because that dumpster fire has now gotten worse. They actually closed down Autolite, Cardone, and the small brake parts manufacturing. So that's gone now. Wow. Autolite is gone. Gone. So is Cardone. So if you need a brake booster, you're screwed.
And you know what's that? My friend sent me a video or a commercial for like a 54 Kaiser, and they were talking about how, which that didn't go too farther after that, but they were talking about how they use Autolite, and I thought, how sad. How sad.
At this point, yes, it is completely sad at this point. And actually, I was just going over how Stellantis, the Kuniskis in it specifically, was they don't want to bring back the Dodge Ram or the Dodge pickup truck. They don't want to combine them, which is insane because we're about, actually, since you're here, we're going to go into the 2025 sales numbers for Dodge. I did a post in my community on YouTube. This is actually pathetic because if we go and we
for you.
Yes.
I have a quick question. I'm glad you brought this up. Why is it just Ram now versus Dodge Ram? What is the story behind that?
The story behind that is that Sergio Marchionne, in his finite wisdom, I mean, he actually was more of an American car guy than a lot of the other owners. They broke off Dodge Ram to just Ram because I think that they were thinking about breaking the company up, or if they needed to, because they could have. There seems like they wanted to sell off Dodge and Chrysler and keep Jeep and the trucks, because the Jeep and the trucks are really, really, really profitable. You know that from selling cars. Trucks and SUVs are money. And for the manufacturer, they're money. They want you to sell that. They want you to sell those trucks. They want you to sell those SUVs. So I think Sergio was looking at that and going, how can we break this off? And they did it. Now, there's no reason for it to be now because Dodge is dead. I mean, Dodge is basically limping into the 2026 with almost nothing. The new Charger Huracan is going to be a failure. I'm already feeling it because I don't think people want to pay for a Dollar Tree B58, $60,000, a car that has vinyl interior and a vinyl steering wheel. A vinyl steering wheel. Vinyl. It's not even leather wrapped. And
heck, my Kona's leather wrapped. Jeez.
The Bronco, which is, has a washout interior, still has a leather steering wheel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, 60 grand, one power seat, vinyl on the inside. How are you going to sell that to people in that price range? And this is where Stellantis just, I don't understand. Plus, they don't do any good marketing to the old time, the old Chrysler faithful, because most of them don't really care anymore. But they really haven't done a very good job of marketing to people like me that like old Chryslers. Literally, this car is the antithesis of everything that we would want in a Chrysler product.
So Ram is technically its own marquee now.
Yes, it is. They spend their own marketing, research, development, have their own headquarters, their own CEO, their own finance department, all this stuff that adds cost to the company for no apparent reason. I mean, it's not like Ram's lighting the world on fire. They sold 500,000 trucks last year, which is really not a lot.
No.
Ford sold 1.2 million F series. General Motors sold like 900,000. And it's like, tell you, I think if Toyota didn't screw up their 6-cylinder, I swear to God, they probably would have passed them. I mean, I just don't grasp this whole it really doesn't make any sense. You're spending a lot of money on infrastructure for your company, and things aren't going great. You probably should contract. And I just I just don't know anymore. I mean, it's really terrible at this point. And I actually was going over the video. I did a video about how old new Chrysler buyers, like especially Challenger and Charger buyers, don't care at all about the old cars. And and I actually went over some things from that video too, because there were people telling me Valaria wasn't that bad. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. All 4 years, it was that bad. Actually, 5. It was that bad. That was not a good car. It had rust problems the entire time, and then it had just quality problems because by 1980 they were like already in the dumpster. And then the Imperial, because those are 2 cars I used, because the Imperial was supposed to be the car that was their figurehead car, their top of the line car. What?
The flagship.
The flagship. And that car cost $20,000 in 1981. That car was the most expensive car in the United States.
It's like a Seville. Wow.
Yeah, it was more than a Seville. And the thing is, it had that terrible fuel injection. It had a bunch of recalls on it. I had a comment pointing out about the 468, and I'm like, the 468 was easily fixed. You just make it not do that anymore. Exactly. The fuel injection, you had to change out the fuel pump. You had to put a thermoquad on there. You had to put new fuel lines. You had to change out the dash. And then you hope it worked. You had to change out the computer. Everything got changed on that car. It literally would be in for a week to get the fuel injection removed. This was not a minor recall. This was a major recall on that. And also the dashes were bad in those cars. The one we bought at auction, we bought it in 85? It wasn't that old. It was an 81 Imperial, and we got it at an FBI auction, and the dash had already been changed out in it. It already was shorted out. It was, or I mean, because it showed low mileage, and it's because and it had the thing. It was changed. Literally, the fuel injection still worked. Actually, if you were patient and just a little bit go to electronics, you can keep those fuel injections working. But you have to be really patient. My uncle actually did a pretty good job of that. Autobot Al is asking, what is Fluno Smoke? Monte Cristo? Cubano?
Oh, well, this evening, I'm actually smoking a Brick House cigar, which is a J.C. Newman brand. And it's nice. It's actually not one of my normals, but it was in the humidor. Normally for my evening smokes, I just usually have something called I forgot the name of it already. There it is. What's it called? A Quorum, which they're the inexpensive ones, but they are a J.C. Newman cigar as well. And pretty much they're seconds, or, they're the inexpensive cigars, but it's the same tobacco used in Fuente, anything J.C. Newman, Coister. So it's, quality tobacco. It just might be a second, might not be perfect. But when we go out as friends, usually I actually enjoy my H. Upmans. I do treat myself occasionally to a Monte Cristo white label. But my all-time favorite, as far as, and I've had plenty of Cubans as well throughout my many, many moons of, I used to run a cigar shop back in the 90s. And Cubans are okay. They're all right. A little overrated, in my opinion. But very unique taste.
Yeah, but they're not what they used to be. They're not what they used to be.
But the Arturo Fuente Hemingway signature it's about a $10 smoke. It's just always perfect. It's something that's just outstanding. But yeah, I've had a lot of different sticks over my life. But if it was going to be a Cuban, it would definitely be an H. Upman. That is, to me, my personal favorite Cuban. truly actually almost has like a chocolatey coffee. It's just it's outstanding. But like I
Nice.
said, this is what we got tonight, and that's what we're smoking. So thanks for the question.
So let's dive into this. This is now they haven't released the financials because that's not going to be to the end of next month. So they're going to take 2 months to get their financials together, which is kind of scary. So we go to Jeep, which is just, destroyed at this point where they're down to less than 600,000 total Jeeps, where they used to sell almost 1 million just 6 years ago. We have our Rams here. Now the 1500 really it went up, but last year 2024 was a disaster because they didn't have any V8s. So they sold 200,000 just 1500s, which is pathetic. I mean, it's just not even. And then 169,000 of the big ones, ProMaster. So their sales went down. But then this is where it gets really awful. Dodge. So I posted on this because the interesting part in the fourth quarter is that they sold 346 appliances. But if you add the Charger, which is the old one, the 2023, so this is a 2-year-old car plus, and the Challenger, these cars actually outsold the new Charger electric. 2-year-old models outsold the Charger electric. Yep. That's how bad, that's how far Stellantis Dodge division has fallen. And I don't see the gas powered Charger doing anything to save this. It may post these numbers. It may post a combine of these two from last year, maybe 5,000 a quarter, which isn't enough to pay for the factory. It's not enough to pay for development. Definitely not going to pay the car back. This is literally Dodge as an entire division sold 101,000 vehicles. 81,000 of those were Durangos. Just, I mean, how do you keep this is why I'm looking at Ram trucks and I'm going, you probably need to roll these in. You literally have 2 products now, and you're selling 100,000 vehicles in a division of working class people's cars. I mean, could you imagine if Buick just sold 100,000 cars? Seriously, could you imagine Buick only selling 100,000 cars? I mean, General Motors would shut the division down. I mean, this is inexcusable. Of course, then we get more depressing. Let's go to Chrysler. Here it is, the Pacifica. Here it is, the Pacifica. They sold 110,000. Chrysler sold 126,000 vehicles. 110,000 of them were Pacificas. That's where we are now. And then, of course, Fiat and Alpha, which
how many Pacificas were sold?
What?
How many Pacificas were sold?
They sold 110,000 Pacificas because they throw money on the hood on these things.
Yeah.
Good question for Barbara DeRush. If the Charger is considered a muscle car, why would anybody want an electric muscle car? That's a great question. I don't think that Stellantis had an answer to that question either. In fact, no one has an answer to this question. They actually tried to market it as the world's first muscle car, electric muscle car, even though it wasn't even the fastest electric car. No. So there were many electric cars that were faster than the Charger Scat Pack. In fact, the Kona, I think it was the Kona Electric, was actually faster than the Charger Scat Pack. So a basic Hyundai electric appliance was faster than their world's first electric muscle car that couldn't do a burnout. I still don't think it could do a burnout. You having a muscle car that can't do a burnout. Congratulations. So this is the mindset of Stellantis that I can't grasp as a car fan, as a Chrysler fan. The marketing and direction of Stellantis is mind-numbing at this point. I am utterly and absolutely lost. I don't even know what because last week we talked about Ford. They're coming out with a supercharged dark horse because why the hell not? And then, of course, Shelby went, yeah, so that's nice. And then it came out with a GT350 with a supercharger on it because why not? And Chrysler's going to give us a new minivan. Yeah, and we're going to get the Dollar Tree B58 inline 6 Huracan that is that no one wants. And honestly, I don't even know if they fixed any of the problems. Yeah, look at that. Haggerty did a video on the fast Hyundai EV. Yeah, faster than the Stellantis muscle car.
Even have that Ionic, the 5, the little SUV thing, N line, which I mean, all arguments considered, is pretty badass for a small electric little. If you want to be a like a racer style, it is fast, and that's sad that it's beating the quote muscle car.
The muscle car. I did a video on the video when they introduced that because it was literally the most cringe thing ever where they had the Dodge brothers so excited over this electric appliance and I mean it was cringe and it got ratioed to hell. I mean usually car company videos don't get ratioed and ratio is more down than up. This thing got annihilated. I mean it was like 10-1 negative. And they still went ahead with it. I mean, they literally not only did they go ahead with it. This came out before they even finished making the rear-wheel drive Chargers and Challengers. Not only did they go ahead with it, they doubled down and made 2 models, and then they're still bringing out the 4-door. They're still bringing out the 4-door. This is where we are. So. Actually, speaking of electric appliances, first, I want to go over this with you first, though, because this is a BMW thing, and and it's an electric appliance, and it's BMW, and this is
dear Lord,
this is where we are in design at BMW. They have literally lost their way. This is supposed to be new class, which means it's supposed to mimic the older cars poorly. This is on the iX3 electric appliance that no one's going to buy. And it has a grill on there that that I can't explain. I mean, there's nothing about this car that's pleasing. Those vehicle, the X5 looks the same, and the X7, they all have this front end. The only thing that gets worse is when you look at the back. I'm like, who designed this? I mean, we made fun of the Bangle butt on the 7 Series, which had that weird double body line and the trunk kind of bustled on the back. That actually starting to look like a Rolls-Royce Phantom compared to this. I mean, this doesn't look like a BMW anymore. I don't know what this looks like. It's really ugly. I mean, BMWs have always been stylish. Even the X5, the first one, very stylish looking vehicle.
Very European, very Euro.
It looked like a BMW.
Right.
Even the X3s, it looked like a BMW. The X1, the BMW for non-BMW owners, still look like a BMW. This thing, it looks like, honestly, the taillights look like a Pontiac.
Heck, the 318 Ti looks like a BMW still,
Yeah, exactly. And that thing was a flop. I'm trying to figure out who this is marketed to because it's definitely not marketed to BMW owners, because there's nothing here that makes me go, and it's an electric appliance too, so it's useless. But you're literally looking at a vehicle that the, I just don't see this as anything that anybody would really run out and buy. And then look at the interior.
Oof.
You thought the outside was ugly. It's almost like Tauntauns. I thought they would smell bad on the outside. This is, who wants this? Like, seriously, how is this a design? Like, this is a production car. This is not a prototype. This is not a show car. That is a production car. This is something they're actually going to sell on market. Right there. That is what they're going to sell to market. That.
Like, I love a sleek interior. Like, I love my Kona's screens and this and that, but there's still plenty of, soft keys and regular buttons. It's not all integrated. But this, look, especially for this price point, mine's more stylish. I mean, this that swept away dash, which is actually very 60s looking. This just looks like, hey, let's make it as, not even say non-offensive. Let's make it as bland as possible and as cheap to build.
Sterile. It is literally
right.
An $80,000 sterile vehicle.
Right.
I mean, that is literally a sterile vehicle. There's nothing about this that makes you go, wow, I'm in the ultimate driving machine.
Right.
You're in the ultimate. I mean, there's nothing about this that goes, it's not ultra modern. It literally does look cheap. It looks really cheap.
Yeah.
And this is where we are at styling in cars. I'm especially at BMW at this point, because it has gotten to that point where BMW is now lost. And it hurts, because I have 2 BMWs, and this hurts, man, because this is painful to look at. It really is. As a car lover, this makes me want to what about it? It looks like the inside of a Star Wars vehicle. Yeah. This is where we are. This is what electric appliances bring to the world of cars. I'll go back here. Vintage 76 hasn't seen a 4-door model on the road yet. I have the 4-door Charger. I haven't either. Allegedly, they're available. I may have to wander over to my nearest Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram store and go see if there's any there. I doubt it. I can't imagine that they're running to make these at any time.
Is the styling like the 2-door, only with now 4 doors, or does it look more like the old-fashioned?
No, it's the same with just adding 2 doors to it. I mean, it's sleek looking. It's just pointless. It still has no range, so it's just pointless. I don't know. So the next thing I have is actually, it's continuing with the EVs. It's an interview with one of my favorite CEOs, Mary Barra, who is she is literally, I figured when they put her in there, when General Motors failed, they just blame her, because, and I guess even she's surprised they didn't fail and she didn't get fired. So this was she did a video. I actually have, I don't know how well it'll come out if I play it, because she's saying, Mary Barra, in the future of EVs, stop debating when, just start building. So she is one of these people. We'll just do over the article, but it's aged her running a company into the ground. So let's just remember that General Motors. I didn't even put this up because she's aged not well. I guess running a company into the ground does that to you. So General Motors just took a $7 billion, would it be, dollar loss for electric vehicles. They did this for 2025. Their CEO is still gung-ho on making EVs. Still gung-ho on it. Barra emphasizes EVs as a superior product despite challenges. This is what we have in Detroit now. This is our CEOs. She's the head of General Motors, the largest manufacturer in the world.
Where's the board at?
What?
Where's the board of directors at with this situation?
I don't know. I don't know why she stays. I don't know why she's staying there. I'm confused on this because, we damn ads. We had to make some fairly significant changes, referring to the decision to cut billions of dollars worth of EV investments while leading harder in combustion engine vehicles. The president got rid of other people paying for other people's cars, and they're all upset on that. Barra said GM still believes EVs will eventually take off in the U.S. as charging becomes easier, sure, and prices come down, sure. GM still sees battery-powered cars as the end game.
Okay. End of the company.
Yeah, it will take longer without incentives, but I think we'll get there over time. How? I'm confused on this. How? I mean, even in Europe, they've gone, not so much. Not so much. I mean, everybody is now just basically running away from these cars. And here's GM, $7 billion write-off. And then now it's just gonna let's keep running full speed on this. She reiterated that GM is developing plug-in hybrid vehicles, which can run on fully electric power before the car switches to an internal combustion engine. And the company is evaluating traditional hybrids as well. But GM will continue to focus more on EVs because this is a superior product for customers. Who is this for? How is this a superior? Mike, I mean, you live far away from Tampa. I mean, you're not just like a skip and a jump. You are a real drive. With an EV,
90 miles, yeah.
With an EV, you're not going to Tampa and driving home on the same charge.
No. Well, this is a good example. For example, I fill it. We won't get into why gas went up 30 cents again, but I digress.
Yeah, well,
But I filled up. No, I know it's going to go back and forth. But I filled up. Right now, the range is like 370, and I only have a 12-gallon tank. Okay, filled up tonight. As you know, I'll be in Tampa we're working Apollo Beach, so I will leave Friday morning. I'll have plenty of gas. Go to Apollo Beach, which is about 118 miles from my house. Then stop back into Tampa, see you fine folks, okay?
Yes.
And then I might drive home that night. If I want to top it off, I can. But if not, I'm not even remotely stressed about it. It literally, I already planned it out. I'll still have about 100 miles left on my tank. It'll be all highway driving. And I average, depending on my foot, anywhere from 35 to 38 on the highway, okay? So, and it's really, I mean, yeah, it's a distance, but it's not super long. But I have no worry. Even if gas went to $4 for some reason, oh, well, I mean, okay, I don't have any stress. I can fill up either down the road from the cigar shop or pull off the highway at the racetrack at the Brooksville exit. There's no worry. There's no worry at all. But with an EV, and I said it over and over again, not to beat the dead horse, urban style, city commuter, perfect. Even like a Leaf, 100-mile range, you just kind of tootle around in it. That's what they're made for. But there's no way in heck that I would want to even have this worry because it gets worse mileage on highway. They're not made for long cruising. It's just the nature of the beast.
Yep. No, it really, I mean, 4339JK put, yeah, she got put in charge. Her claim to fame before running GM was an all-day breakfast at McDonald's. I mean, the thing is with the appliances is that the technology is not here yet. And I did a video on this where I went and I showed why the horse got replaced. The horse got replaced because the car was superior. Every way you couldn't argue with the thing. There was no tax credits, there was no incentives, but it was superior.
It was environmentally cleaner. It still is than the horse and manure.
Yes. And, it was cleaner. You didn't have to have a place to stick your car. You could have left it. You could leave it outside. A horse you had to put in a barn, In the wintertime, horses can't stay outside. They will die. Horses need to have houses. So there's a lot of reasons why, and it was expensive to keep a horse. You had to keep feeding it all its life. You had to keep it healthy all its life. I mean, it is a lot of work to keep a horse alive. Well, a car just basically was basic maintenance at that time. It really wasn't a lot. And it took off, and the infrastructure to build for the cars was very easy. You already had the paths the horse rode on, and that's why the old cars had those big wheels, because they were going through ruts, and they had very tall gearing to go through the muddy roads. They were made for muddy, rutted roads. But the other thing is, to build a gas station was freaking simple. This new product, gasoline, it was easy. You dug a hole in the ground, or you didn't actually, back then, probably didn't even have a hole in the ground. You just literally had a tank. You filled it up with the gasolines, get in there, and then it goes to the pump, and it would go to the pumps where it would have a pump, it would pump it up to the sight glass, and then you'd fill your car up, and you're on your way. Even then, it took only minutes to put gas in a car. It literally was. You can now drive 100 miles in a day. Well, you couldn't do that with a horse, because you have to let a horse rest. You could do that easily and go back and forth 100 miles in one day, what used to take 2 or 3. And it was such a radical change that from 1905 to 1920, the amount of cars quintupled. Was it quintupled or septupled in the United States? I mean, it got to the point where in New York City in 1905, there was like 5 horses. You could see there was only like 5 cars amongst all the horses. By 1920, it was literally, you can see a couple horses amongst all the cars. And literally, that is the big difference. The EV does not offer you that type of advantage over a car. You can't let it sit. Like my 2 cars in my garage, my 72 Charger, my 89 BMW, are going to sit there for the next 3 weeks. The weather is lousy. I have
the Z3.
I have parade season, which in Florida we don't do Mardi Gras. We have a thing called Gasparilla, and I'm part of a crew that does that. And there's 2 big parades, and I also have a dance in between for Carnivale. So my cars aren't going to get used, but you know what? My cars can sit out there. They have about a half a tank of gas each, and they could just sit there. And in 1 month, I could go out there and I can start them up, and I don't have to do anything to them. I can just leave them there. I don't have to worry about the batteries being discharged or any electrical stuff being messed up on them. They're literally just sitting there. And in a month, I can go start them, and they'll be perfectly fine.
And think about this too, Dennis. Let's use that 1905 to 1920, that 15-year range, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in 1905, yes, in 1905, they were kind of a novelty. Rich man's this and that, brand new tech, kind of like a flat screen wasn't 20 years ago, right?
Right.
And people would say, hey, it'd be broken down, buy a horse, ha, ha, ha. And it was at the time, yes, buy a horse, because they've been around forever and yada, yada, yada. In that 15-year time, cars got better and better and better, mm-hmm. and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And in all ranges of someone's social background, economic background, could potentially have one, right? So let's now use 2010 to 2025, 26. 2010, the Model S comes out, this and that. It's kind of exciting, blah, blah, blah. It's a $100,000 car. So let's jump 15 years in the future. They're still extremely expensive for EVs. The range is not. So I'm not trying to compare apples to apples, but from 1905 to 1920 they said, okay, how do we make this better and better and better, cheaper, 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 more reliable? 2010 to 2025, it really, I'm not saying there hasn't been some improvements. Like Tesla is the king of EVs, in my opinion, and it's very American, okay? God bless them for that. But overall, they're still not practical enough. They're still not really affordable for the average American, okay? And they are not providing what the automobile did by pushing out the horse into the 20th century as this new fangled, not a novelty. It became like, wow, this is great. And the improvement, and the gas, the infrastructure. How in 15 years, and I'll be positive here, aren't tons of electrifications, not better range with a cheaper price. Something is not gelled like it did from 1905 to 1920.
Well, the technology is not there. The
Right.
lithium-ion batteries have so many limitations because you can't charge them very fast because if you overheat them, they kind of catch fire and they burn and they don't go out. But I'm going to show something here. I just pulled this up. You talk about 1905 to 1920. Okay. So I have two cars here. This is a 1905 Buick. I picked Buick because that was pretty much a standardized car. It wasn't top of the line. It was just a good car. Buick was just a very good car. And so this is a 1905, very rudimentary. I mean, this had a non-standardized, running gear. The pedals were probably weird. Here's your horn. These lights were not electric back then. Very simple drivetrain, all open. There is no top on this car. This is basically a horseless carriage.
A horseless carriage, exactly. Yeah.
So then this is and this is 1920. Look at the massive difference from 1905 to 1920. It has a roof. The seats are down lower. The car's lower. The wheels are more robust because these were made for mud. These were made for this is made for roads. This car was a crank start. This, I believe, was an internal start by 20.
Yeah.
And it has standardized look. The steering wheel is on the correct side. It's on the left side of the car. Everything's standardized on there.
Electric lights.
Yep, electric lights. These are electric lights. In 15 years, the amount of advancement that cars had at the beginning of the last century was absolutely, utterly amazing. And we did not have that type of advancement with electric appliances. It did not happen. The technology is just really not there. The infrastructure is never coming. And the reason it's never coming is because moving electricity is not easy, especially the way we do it. We don't do it like Tesla. Tesla had a way of doing it without wires. We don't, but those records are now gone for some reason.
Yeah.
But you have to dig ditches or put poles up and move massive amounts of electricity over long stretches. And now an electric car doesn't use your 110 that like your blender does. An electric car uses minimum of 220, but it uses three-phase. It uses pure three-phase. But rapid chargers are 2 3-phases together. That's the only way you can get 400 volts is 2 3-phases. That is scary amounts of electricity because imagine, when you work on your dryer, electric dryer is the only thing in the house that runs on 3-phase. They tell you don't even touch a dryer when it's plugged in, because I mean that will vaporize you. I mean you will be annihilated by pure 220. Pure 220 is super dangerous, and 3-phase is like it is unfathomably scary because it's not stepped down to be 110. And they're going to try to run 2 of those to make it a rapid charger. First of all, it uses a lot of electricity because think about it. You're now putting, it's like having 2 bigger pipes. When you use 2 bigger pipes, you use more of that product you're pumping through there. It gets more expensive to charge it because you're pumping faster and more electricity. Plus, this still won't be that quick because you can't go too fast. Otherwise, you'll overheat those batteries, which then causes a runaway fire, which is very bad. And I just don't understand where Barra thinks she's going with this, because unless she knows something that none of us know, there is no future, there is no push, there is no develop. Like she's talking about 2028. there's going to, in 2 years, it's going to be the same thing. There's nothing happening. I mean, they've made stuff that's super cooled that is a high conductor, but that's not practical. It's not practical for the regular world. So this is such a folly. And General Motors lost $7 billion. The money was pissed away. That could have been spent on things like, I don't know, making their engines not explode. I mean, that probably keep their V8s in their work trucks from scattering themselves all over the roadway. I mean, you probably could have increased your quality control. And I don't understand the folly here. Even Ford, what's his name at Ford, is still talking about this $30,000 electric thing that no one's going to want, because how far is it going to go? 150 miles? I just drove 60 miles in traffic today.
Yeah.
And there's no way I could have done that in an electric appliance. There would have no way in hell I would have been done. I would have just been done. I would have had to stop somewhere. And I just don't understand this. I just don't get it. I really am confused on the confused now. I'm really lost on where Barra is heading with this stuff. And this is where we are now with the American manufacturers. And now we see, the thing is, BMW is not stopping their 8s or their 12s. They're still making them. Like, they didn't stop. And also Mercedes AMG is going to Mercedes is also keeping their high performance V8s and their 12s. They kind of reverse course. Yeah, 4339JK, not to defend her, but Callie did want to ban gas cars. Yeah, she had to do that for the shareholders, because everybody came out. Even Stellantis went, yo, that's not going to work, man. Because honestly, California has no infrastructure. I mean, if you really think about it, California is a mess.
No. And they love their cars.
And everywhere you have to drive. I mean, honestly, there is no real mass transit unless you're there isn't any. So I mean, I don't know how these people would go anywhere over there. Oh, Vintage 76 checking out. All right, well, good night. Rest tight. Yeah, I mean, California.
I didn't see any charging stations in LA, and I was all over the place. And let's face it, that's not to be political, progressive city. Guess what? You would think they'd be like 25th century. No, I did not see any. And I was looking, because you know me, I'm always looking, and I love the cars I saw out there. A lot less trucks, a lot more like sleeker vehicles, Porsches, etc. But the hybrids galore. But guess what that takes? Gasoline. So I mean, and Dennis, I just want to interject as we sit here with this interesting Florida weather. I am cheating. I've got a space heater down here. Yeah, I'm not completely. I am Florida boy here, right? But no, like, I mean, I talked to my cousins in Chicago. They're doing great. Imagine you have the appliance in not 40 degree, 35, 28 degree weather. Those people up there with power outages. I mean, it's bad enough when a hurricane knocks us out. You can still survive in the warm. Not only is it bad to have no power with no potential heat, okay, your car cannot, be charged. And those batteries are going to depreciate in the cold weather. And it's not being a nasty statement, it's the God's truth. So as we say it right now, my full tank I'm not going to walk out tomorrow morning and it's going to go from 380 range to 290 overnight. And that's what happens. And so colder climates, they're not conducive for that at all.
Yeah, and you can't, when it's cold, you can't charge them that fast.
No,
they have to trickle charge, because the batteries aren't excited, and when they're not excited, they don't take charge. No. How much does it cost to charge one of these cars, Barbara Drosh asked? Well, it depends. I mean, it is all over the place. It literally is all over the place.
No, it's right.
I mean, I know people that had they had an electric pickup truck, one of the General Motors mistakes, and it was $120 to do that, and he got 250 miles out of it, which is embarrassing. Depending on electric, especially now, if you live in the Northeast or actually the Atlantic states where they have PBJ, whatever the hell it is, that power company, their rates are skyrocketing. So now to charge one of these appliances, you're going to pay premium on that because this is like running a dryer for hours at top power, electric dryer. And honestly, they also do surge pricing because they can, and you're looking anywhere from $60 to $100, but you can't store it. Like if gasoline goes down to $1.50 a gallon, whatever, right? You can go out if you were crazy enough and buy a bunch of gas cans and fill them up and store them with some stable in there for 6 months, and it'll be fine. And you can put gas in your car later. An electric appliance, if electric goes down one day, you charge it up, but then it skyrockets. You can't just go and find other electricity to put in there. You have to use the electricity that cost, and you're now a slave to whatever that power company is doing. And with AI and all these data centers, the cost of electricity is going to skyrocket. I actually looked at my electric bill here in Florida, my wonderful electric company, which is horrible. And they actually tripled the rates per kilowatt since 2012. It's tripled. So give you an idea how much it's going to cost you to charge those appliances. Plus, now we're having a cold snap. Yes, Canada, I'll call it a cold snap. It's going down into the 20s here, which is inhumane. These houses aren't built for that. My heat is not built for that because I'm basically using a heat pump, and it may run out of heat because it's a heat pump. But we could have brownouts. And if you charge, if you're doing one of these electric appliances, you could cause the power to go out in your neighborhood because that is a massive draw on top of all the other massive draw. Because the electric here is everything, and electric heat is not efficient. Let's see. Jersey rates are through the roof because they closed fossil plants and a nuke plant, I think. Yes. They closed all these useful, proven technologies to power these things to go with ridiculous things like solar and windmills. Windmills don't make good power. In Europe, they have the maintenance on them is killer. Maintenance on one of those windmills is psychotic. And they kill a lot of birds too. So there's that. And solar is kind of like, how's your solar working up there in the Northeast covered under feet of snow? Oh, I guess it isn't working so good. How are your windmills with all the ice on them? Probably not so great. So yeah, nuke.
Oh, go ahead, finish. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, nuke and coal, that kind of works when it's cold too.
Yeah. It's funny you bring up the heat because I actually have gas heat here, which
you lucky bastard.
I mean, it's definitely it's normally my gas bill with the dryer, my gas, so in the water tank, whatever, it runs about $30 a month, and it's going to be a little higher. But again, this is so brief for us overall; it's not going to be a big deal. But right, electricity and heat, as our good friend, would tell us. I mean, that guzzles electricity for your heat. And we're just not used to it down here. But like northern state, like back in the old days, this house actually had literally an oil furnace, that you would come and fill up because, God forbid, the electricity went out. Well, you still got the big tank of fuel. It's as simple as that.
Canada, they actually tried to push heat pumps in Canada. Oh dear God, I can't. I mean, I actually long time ago when I was at USF, I lived in an apartment. And yeah, I went to USF in Tampa, and I had a heat pump, and it was in the shade, and it didn't get above like 35. It was super cold. This is like 90, 93, 94, 90, somewhere in there. 90, 92. It was early 90s. And literally by the third day, we had no heat. Literally nothing was coming out. You had to turn on the emergency to have the little electric things turn on, because what was pushing out was basically just air, and not even warm. It was just like outside air, except slightly warmer.
Why is that? I mean, I thought it was like basically electric heat works with big heating elements, and then the air comes and blows through. That's not how it works.
A heat pump is different. It's basically air conditioning in reverse.
Oh,
so instead of blowing the hot air out and cooling it, it reverses it, and you use that hot up in the evaporator to make it warm. And then, well, what happens is when it gets too cold, the condenser on the outside there's no heat.
There's no heat left, right?
There's no heat to grab. And you can do you can try all you want to make it hot. It just won't. And that's why heat pumps are basically far south. I mean, that's literally that is in the south. You can't have them any place north, because you won't have any heat. That's why we have electric. You have those electric things, the little coils. You have those because the heat pump will run out of heat.
I see. Okay.
So, and my house will probably run out of heat probably by Monday morning. We're supposed to get snow. We may get snow Monday morning.
Really?
I wish I was.
I'm further north than you.
I wish I was kidding. Actually, you're also in that, but Gulf effect snow. They're expecting the winds to be so strong and it's going to be 25, that they're expecting it to snow on the west coast of Florida. I'm glad I don't need to go anywhere, but the accident should be phenomenal, I guess, if that happens. Look at it. Oh, wait. He lives in the city. He has LNG, which is perfect. My wife keeps the stupid fireplace going all winter long. She doesn't even care what it costs. Basically, that's how we heat the house. Oh dear God. Oh Jesus. It's like your little house on the prairie.
Yeah.
Oh, Benjamin. It was -40 here last week. But that's a choice. I made a choice to where I every 5-6 years it gets cold, and I can go, God damn it, it's cold. Once again, I'd rather sweat. On my other podcast, yes, cold or hot. Hot. I'm sorry. I've had enough with cold. It's nothing more uncomfortable than cold. Barbara DeRush, you better get outside and take pictures. Oh, I will. Trust me. If it snows, my ass will be taking pictures. Absolutely. My ass will be taking pictures. Because
it's 39 here. I asked my AI friend here. It's 39, feels like 44, and it actually said no chance of snow yet. Are you kidding me?
I'm at 37. Yikes. That's miserable. Wow. Yeah, see, he's up in the Twin Cities. Never heard of heat pump. Yeah, because anything north of, like, I don't know, Florida, Florida, out in the desert Southwest, they have them if you're lower elevations, because it doesn't get cold. So like by Las Vegas, it'll still work, but this is like, yeah. And electric appliances just don't work in this. And car batteries. Barbara DeRush had a car battery die, because this is when car batteries just end themselves, because they're not excited, they're not doing the thing, and then they got 11 volts. Oh well.
I guess, Dennis, my the Z3's Alpine Silver is going to finally ring true. Proper naming of a color in the South.
Yeah. Maybe I'll go to the main road and take pictures of the car spinning all over the place.
No.
Because I can just fathom, because
We're not used
Honestly,
to it.
no. I actually both my Charger and the E30, the older BMW, have summer tires on them. They're completely useless in the cold. They're
Yeah.
utterly useless in the cold. Yikes. Oh man. So yeah, that's going to be the fun and games and the electric appliances. I can't wait to see if I have a brownout or a blackout. I pray I don't. Please.
I don't think we're that loaded up with EVs down here to have that happen. Do you?
Well, I have a small community, so
Oh,
I think there's like 5 of them in here, and that may be enough to push it over the edge.
geez.
Autobot Al is leaving us. Good to see you again, Autobot Al. Stay warm out there, man. Stay
Thank
warm.
you. I'm
He's out
glad to
there in
be here.
Seattle area. It's cold.
Oh,
Cold and
yeah.
damp.
We're complaining. Everyone's like, yeah, hold our beers, guys. Yeah, hold our beers.
Yeah, this is yeah, it makes everything more of a challenge. So actually I'm glad I have a car, I have a truck with heated seats. It's very nice.
Oh, best invention besides cruise control. I could take everything else away from the car. I'm gonna tell you right now. I wish I had ventilated seats. That I do wish, but heated seats right now, oh, outstanding. And my car has what they have. It's called climate start and stop. So I turn it on in the morning. I mean, not for an hour before, but I have it all set up for me. So when I hop in, it's 74 with the heated seats on.
Yep.
Defroster, good to go.
Yep. I have that on the truck too.
Yeah.
Five
Oh, I'm sure
five
most people have it. It's just
yeah.
that's the fun stuff about new cars that the Z3 does not have that. It's me starting it and going back and
Yeah, you run in, you start it, you lock it with your other set of keys, and you go inside
yeah,
and you have a cup of coffee and you go back outside. Actually, the BMW, it's 5 minutes and it's hot.
yeah, I
I mean,
know.
BMWs are fast. It's not like my Dodge where it was literally 15 minutes. When it was
Oh,
20 degrees outside, it was 15 minutes before I had anything
oh,
resembling heat. That
we
car was
remember that, Dennis,
terrible.
growing up. My parents would start their 70s or 80s cars up and come back. I hear it start up in the morning. They'd be doing all sorts of stuff before they go back outside. You had to like let it literally warm up more ways than one,
Yeah.
And oh, funny story real quick. So last Monday, I did actually I don't like I was just a quick doctor's appointment. I had to go to Tampa and I got out to my car and I'm like, my gosh, what is this coating on my vehicle? No, it was ice. I thought I was taking a Z3. No, because the little cover that I put on it was iced in like frosting. So that didn't happen. So as I'm going down the roads, I'm like, wow, it's sunny, but everyone's car's wet. It's because the ice was breaking off of people's cars like wings on an airplane. It was great. Beautiful morning, but we don't get that too often.
No, heavy frost in Florida, especially south of like Gainesville,
Yeah.
is an oddity. We had
Hmm.
frost this, it's such a different thing because and it's just a different way of living down here than
Yeah.
than up in north because you had to put winter tires on and you have to have if you're in the far north you need chains because
Yeah.
you're not going through this stuff with just winter tires. So, it's funny. They're talking about fireplace wood. I was so upset. My neighbor across the street, I didn't know he was doing this. He cut down an oak tree. And if I known he was doing it, I would have talked to him and see if they could have cut some of the wood up because I have a nice fire pit. And damn it, I would have loved to have had I could have stacked it and had a bunch of really nice oak and sit outside when it's nice and cool out and have a nice little fire, roast some marshmallows, do the whole thing. It's so entertaining.
Well, maybe Dennis, on the last weekend of February, if you're up here and if hopefully it's not like this kind of cold. We don't want 25, right?
No.
But I have a nice chimney out with plenty of firewood, so we can keep that in mind.
Oh, cool.
Now imagine I want to go back in time. My dad would tell me in Chicago, that's where my parents grew up at, in the 50s. He said, oh yeah, you just would drive along and you kind of just bump into it. I mean, ABS, what's that? What's traction control? And you literally just knew how to drive in that with those cars, and you were prepared to, everyone kind of slid around, and you just, with metal bumpers, you just knew you might get tagged. And that's just how they did it. It was the way it was.
Yeah, yeah, the non-anti-lock brake cars that's hard to explain to people under like 30.
Or even traction control, or even those, I mean, bias plies. I mean,
Oh,
that's where we have
well,
made
that's
huge
somebody under
advancements.
that's you have to be over
50.
40, over
Yeah.
45.
Yeah.
They're 50 because I had bias plies on my charger. They would, and that was a mistake.
Yeah.
That was a mistake. Bias plies were pretty terrible.
Yeah.
I wish somebody had advised me that they were terrible. I couldn't wait to get them off the car. The ride though was beautiful. The ride was beautiful. It was perfect, but everything else sucked on the car. Yeah. So you know, and you know, the thing is, and you know, I didn't talk to you about the you know, it's very weird with like when you have your Lincoln, when you go out and there's like people with newer Ford products, they come over and look at your Lincoln, right? And they talk
Oh,
to you
yeah.
about, yeah, okay. Yeah, because that's what I was talking about with Chrysler. Those guys that have like the Hellcats, whatever, they won't even come over and look at my car. They're not even not even like a hello, nothing. I was at an event earlier last month, and I had parked back to back to a couple of new Challengers. Didn't say hello, didn't say anything, did
That's
nothing.
just wrong. It should be like, hey, that's a great car. We go to Carson Coffee, and I'm like, wow, here's a 49 Nash or something. You're like, oh, you don't see that? Hey, how you doing? This and that. And of course, you know, I used to do the Ford shows at the, you know, Brandon Ford, and you know, somehow my car lost in a competition to like a 79 Futura. We will not get into that in my utter disgust. Okay, but you know what? Hey, the Futura was in great shape. I have my Roush plaque sitting on my wall. But no, Dennis, you're right. You know, I mean, I hope this will not upset anyone, but it's kind of like being in a band because I'm a drummer.
Right.
Drummers always get to talk to each other. The rhythm section really bonds, and it's like
Yes.
you're in the background, but you kind of control things. Where guitar players, not everybody, they don't like to talk all the time to each other. They have like this, like it's almost like a god complex in a way. Where drummers, we blend and talk, and what's your kit and what do you play? And I'm not like that. I'm more of a jazz style. Oh, you're heavy metal. Oh, that's cool. Hey, that's kind of based on classic, like classical music and the double bass pedal. We get really artsy about it. And again, I'm not generalizing, but I've just noticed that you go to a music store, the guitar players seem to want to one up, where drummers are like, man, let me show me that. What that's really cool. And what sticks do you use? That's the only way I can compare it. Where sometimes at a car show, there's this weird ego, and it's like, hey, we're kind of all in the same pool here. Let's all talk about what we got. What makes your car cool? What makes this? I don't care if you show up in an 81 Cavalier. I mean, I'm going way out there, but hey, how did you get it? What's the story? Why do you own this car? There's always a story behind someone's classic car, whether it be the
Right.
Z3 or I mean, I've talked to people at those Cars and Coffees when I first got mine, Dennis. They're like, hey, you got to join the club and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And of course, you have smart asses who say things like, how's your Miata? That's fine. But, you know, it's just cool to find out why would no one talk to you about your Mopar product? That doesn't make any sense.
And that was because of the destruction of the entire brand in the 80s. I mean, it got destroyed.
Yeah.
And I mean, my family, I brought this up earlier. My family was a Mopar family. I mean, literally, we would buy Plymouths or Dodges with the drop of a hat. Literally, the drop of a hat. That would be the only thing we would look at. And then the 80s came along, and that was the end. I mean, literally, it was the end. From then on, we bought Fords. It wasn't even it literally was just, we just bought Fords. There was no, it was just, the brand abandoned everybody. And that's, we're living that now because there's such a divide because it's two different companies.
Yeah.
It really is at this point. And it's truly, you know, it was not great. And we have a little side thing here on analog brakes and General Motors, of course, because it's General Motors. Early analog brakes that General Motors made standard in the 90s was worse than not having any brakes at all. It took long. Yeah, because that was not a good system.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing is Saturns didn't have anti-lock brakes. They were so cheap. General Motors didn't put anti-lock brakes in Saturns till like near the end. Think of that for a second. Every other car had anti-lock brakes on it except the Saturn. The cheapest Toyota had a brakes on anti-lock brakes. What
was it an option on Saturns?
Yeah, but you had a most people didn't check it because it cost more.
Right.
Yeah. Barbara DeRush, the original and the American anti-lock brakes were terrible. I didn't like anti-lock brakes at first because all that banging. Yeah, because they used to have that hard pulsing. I remember from the Fords, it had that weird like my BMW, my '89 BMW never has done that. Literally has never done that, and it's the same system they use in the mid '80s. Literally, it's never. It's a very. It's just weird how the American companies came in an idea with the cost cutting. And they cost cut in weird areas, and General Motors cost cut on the anti-lock brakes, and so did Ford at first. And then Ford found out like we probably can't do that. It's just so weird. Yeah, and plus, originally when people got them, they still tried to drive them like regular brakes because you're supposed to quick pump in a standard brake car.
That's how we all learned how to drive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, people knew how to drive their cars without, and we've talked about this, I love all the little things that kind of help us, but you need mirrors, you need this, you need the windows, whatever. You can't rely all on just technology.
No, it's just really, and there's too much technology. Actually, I feel there's too much technology in cars. That's why I gave my intrepid assistant, also known as my daughter, a car that is modern, but it doesn't have all those gizmos on it, and you got to know how to drive. It has anti-lock brakes. That's pretty much what it has. It has anti-lock brakes in it. And the rest is all on her. The rest is all on her. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's too much technology, and it's actually distracting. The lane thing. Actually, I find the lane thing the worst of all.
I turn mine off. That's terrible.
Because
awful.
Literally,
my friend had a Mercedes. It would vibrate your wheel. I'm like, dude, no. Like, I know I'm moving over. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't like nannies make me upset on cars. So it's like, it's enough. I don't need you. So, and that's a lot of things that add cost to cars. All that type of stuff adds cost. It's just, I just don't get it. I just don't grasp it. But yeah, the whole anti-lock brake thing, that was a whole, Chrysler actually had anti-lock brakes in 1971. The Imperial was the first American car to come with anti-lock brakes. It was friggin' expensive. I think it was like a $700 option. And they used it was similar to what they used on trains. It had like the modulation that trains did, because trains always had anti-lock brakes, because you don't want those wheels locking up, because that's bad.
No, bad.
No, my daughter does not have roll-up windows. It's a 95 BMW, power everything in the damn thing. Dual power seats, the leather, power roof.
Yeah.
Power roof, power steering, the original automatic climate control, set the temperature. Yeah.
That'll go.
No, that early system, it's the knobs. They work. Those always work.
Okay.
Not the electric one, the knob one. But no, as it has more modern stuff than a new Charger Huracan. It actually has leather in it. We discussed this before. There are no cars that have roll-up windows anymore.
No,
there's none. There's not anything on the market that has a roll-up window. So if
not even a work truck, not even like an F-150 XL, really.
Nope. And honestly, I know a lot of work owners that wouldn't mind having that, because power windows break, because that's just where they are. They break, and that's the most annoying thing in the world, because it's an absolute pain in the ass to fix, and the vehicle is out of service. Because if the window breaks down, if it's down, you can't use that anymore.
Well, that's PTSD on a classic car, because it's going to be not fun to get that. You do everything to figure out what to do.
No, I've worked on BMW. I worked on BMW power windows. Nothing nothing can bother me anymore. Those things are hell.
Well,
Literally,
the thing about the thing about Lincoln's was, and the theory was great because people didn't hold on to cars long, whatever. But to make things quiet and waterproof and whatever, they rubberized everything. Okay, like even the steering box had rubber mounts on it. That's great when it's new. As it deteriorates, now you're like in the movies, right? The window motor, same thing. They would take the window motor and dunk it and be nice and sealed. Well, over the years, as the corrosion gets in, it eats itself from the way out, just like coating the bottom of the car. It's great until water gets inside and it disintegrates from the outside. So the thought process was wonderful for a luxury car and not a lot of, it's like the power steering pump runs off my crankcase. That's great. You cannot rebuild it. Like literally, you're just like, here's some rebuild kit, aka Lucas gel, and keep an extra bottle with you because you are not rebuilding that. And yes, it's quiet as can be. There's no power steering belts. Great idea when new, not 60 years later. So, but it's just funny how the thought process was correct, but not for the long term.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually that's been the story of the automobile, especially after 1950, because that's when they started becoming kind of a thing to want, not just to have, because it had changed. And you started adding these things to cars that it made it much more difficult. And because the way, I mean, Chrysler was honestly horrific with power windows. On my Charger, there is literally a little bus on the bottom of the fuse panel for the power windows to go into. It's an extra little plug, and the way it's wired, I feel so blessed that I don't have that in my car. Literally, I've seen people trying to rebuild those power windows, and I'd rather not. I'm okay with my crank windows. Yeah. Oh yeah, here we go. The G Canada. I remember this too. In the 80s town cars, before they did the redesign, they actually had the vent window. Yeah, so they had a vent window, and then after that went down, the main window went down.
That's right. Yeah.
And that was a really great, I mean, honestly, vent windows were a great design.
Absolutely.
They went out in the 80s though. I mean, literally it was the last car that I'm trying to think. The last car, I think there was like Oldsmobile, whatever. Still had the section, but the glass didn't move anymore. But it was literally the design language still had it. But
my Z3 has that. It's got the fake vent, vent look. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. And guess what? My friend's dad's F-150 he bought it brand new in 95, but it looked like an 80s truck. It had pop open vent windows on it. It was amazing. They're just some things shouldn't have gone away, but obviously theft and other cost cutting reasons, they got rid of it. You know what actually was the best thing about G? My dad's 78 Chevy had it, and a lot of GM 70s cars and 80s cars had them. The ambiguous, as they call them, crotch cooler vent for air conditioning.
Yes.
Where it was right above the line of the dash one. That was why that went away. I don't know. That's
my 95 Thunderbird had that.
Yeah.
Yep. It gave you a personalized cooler.
Yeah. Yes.
That's literally what it was. It was a personalized cooler for the air conditioning. But the vent windows went away because the air conditioning started to become standard. And the thing is, though, when it's nice out, a vent window is the most phenomenal thing in the world.
It's
literally
wonderful.
It's just phenomenal. Because
it is.
Dodge got rid of them in 71. I mean, they were just gone at that point. So actually, Dodges and Plymouths stopped having them in 71. It was because they were going for that sleeker look.
Yeah.
So they just didn't have it, which is weird though. I think that the K car actually started a design with that little piece of that little faux one. Here we go. Jamie Cotton 7962. They should bring back old and make it new again. Vent windows and roll down would be welcome. Yeah, actually, would cut the price of the cars down.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, crank windows You have less electronics in the car. You can use the same assemblies because that's what BMW did. I mean, honestly, my E30, they had crank windows for it. Literally, the electric motor is
Right.
exactly where the crank would be,
Right.
and it's the same mechanism. It's a half moon. You literally can have, and that would cut costs down by a few $100 right there. And I just don't understand. It's just weird.
And like you said, Dennis, with air conditioning, I mean, I've probably now, this doesn't sound crazy. This is my weird OCD. When I bought the Kona, one of the things I checked was, will the back windows go all the way down? I don't want that half glass thing. That's just me. But how many times, seriously, even on a nice day, maybe I'll crack them. I've probably in 2.5 years put not even all the windows down. How many times? You don't have to worry about, I mean, who cares if you got to reach back and crank it? Most people don't put all the windows down, so you don't need electric all the time. So it's not like we put our windows down like we used to.
No,
when there was no air conditioning.
no. It's weird, yeah, but it's just because we're all used to quiet now. When we drive our cars, we're not used to wind noise.
No,
because in the old days,
and they're
you
not
had
designed like they used to be too. Because if that's why I've got to, like I say, I have my driver's side window down on a beautiful day. I crack like the back windows because if you don't, it has that buffeting situation. They're not designed like my Lincoln. I can put the windows down. The back two aren't really working right now, but to put the front two down, you don't get a blast of weird air. It's almost like just a little bit of like a cyclone kind of thing going on. It's a very unique way. And then you open the vent and it comes in this way, but it's not blasting on you. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just like it's open and comfortable for air, but you're not getting that modern car buffeting situation.
Well, modern cars don't have that great venting that the anything built earlier. Let's even my E30 has the venting out the back where the air comes in and goes through, and I don't have that buffeting either. Modern cars don't have that.
No. Good point. That's right.
No, G Canada, there is a cost difference. There is an absolute, because with a crank window, use the same mechanism. That crank costs $1.50. You put it in there through the door panel, which has a hole already built into it. You don't have to add another circuit. You don't have to add all the wiring. You have to add repetitive switches on the driver's door, and then you have to have switches on every other door with wiring running to them, and then a lockout from the driver's door. It actually is more expensive to put power windows in a car than it is not to, if you're building the same car that has the design already there.
But he does bring up a good point, because we've talked about that, why bother making and I see where you're coming from, Dennis, as well, with the actual cost of the material. But since everything is now, I'm sure the same mechanism in my Kona, similar to the same as the Elantra, whatever, they're making this all at one time. That probably does reduce the overall cost and the efficiency of building the car, wouldn't you say?
Well, sometimes you could do like Ford and BMW do. Ford and BMW make one wiring harness. Literally, they make a wiring harness, and that wiring harness is just made. So, I mean, because BMW is, every one of them is going to have the harness for the CD changer. And that's what it used to be. They used to always have the harness back there. No matter what, it would be there. So that you have the wiring there. It's, it's just that, the thing is, in the long run for the owner, crank windows are cheaper. By long shots, they're cheaper, because you never touch them. You'll never.
And I hate to say it too, though, we're so damn used to this stuff now. It'd be hard. Now, again, a work truck, there's no reason why, like your Versa or your F-150 XL, and I'm not saying it in a bad way, a base car that's awesome transportation and affordable, like the way the Versa used to be, for like $9,000. I mean, even like I said, like I just brought up earlier, I crank mine down now and then for the drive-through. I'm not opening all my windows. I mean, it's one of those things where, especially if I had a work truck, I don't want power. I want a stick shift. I want something like I sold my buddy. He still drives to this day. His 07 F-150 for $12,000, about brand new. It was a solid base work truck, and then he put the 6-disc CD player in later on.
There you go.
That's all you got to do, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, and that's kind of the issue that I have not heard addressed at all when we're talking about cars, because in the old days, you had your economy models, and they really had nothing in them. They had rubber floor mats. These were cars with rubber floor mats. They literally had rubber. And there's been a lot of blabbering all around about making cars more affordable, and yet I have yet to hear anything that has truly going to make a car more affordable.
Right. Well, like my dad would tell me.
G. Cannon is the luckiest human being on God's green earth. He owned Fords in the 80s and never had an electric window fail. Did you just not?
He got a Wednesday car. That's a Wednesday car right there.
Oh my God. My every Ford that we owned, and I owned a lot of them, I fixed the power windows in them. And especially on the Panthers, on the Panther bodies, you know, they're riveted in there.
Probably went out.
Oh no, the motors themselves failed. Or the
tracking,
the regulator. Yeah. And everything is riveted in from the factory, from you know, and you have to drill the rivets out, right? In. And literally, I remember, and my grandfather and my uncle did not have that older cars. They may be 5-6 years old, and they were friggin' every window.
That also is, I hate to say it, era quality control going on big time. You know, I mean, because switches are, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, but I just want to interject. It's funny, you know, when I was a kid growing up and go to car shows, whatever, my dad would educate me like, you know, when you go to a car show, oh, look at this loaded model or the Bel Air with the white walls. Oh, no. You could get painted bumpers. You could get black walls. Everyone thinks that every 50s car, like a Fireflight, you know, or a Fury, you know, or a 59 Caddy. No. People had black walls. People had the rubber floor mats. People had the 210 Chevys, you know. It wasn't like everyone was out there driving, again, romanticized on something. But you could get it. That's what I loved about those F-150s. Rubber floor, stick shift, air conditioning. Yay. And I think it even became a cruise, I think. So what more do you need on that for $12,000, you know?
Exactly. I don't know. G. Canada must honestly be the luckiest person on earth, because Ford power windows were, especially in the 80s, were absolutely, they were just a time bomb of when. Just even my uncle's Thunderbird, they had 3 Thunderbirds in the 80s, and every last one of them they changed the windows, because they used to have to pay tolls by rolling the window down, throw the money in, and drive. Well, you do that, and the window just stopped one time. Literally just stopped. So I'm flabbergasted. That's like saying somebody that owns an E36 and never had a window break on them. I mean, you know, or an X5 and never had a window break on them. I mean, I'm flabbergasted. You are very lucky. Damn, you are a lucky individual. Either that or you never rolled the windows down. Just left them up all the time. I don't know. It's just that I am absolutely flabbergasted on that thought. I really am flabbergasted. Seriously.
And like my dad's GMs just never seemed to really, he had crank windows, but he had a couple of electric. They just never seemed to really function. Like they were slower than molasses. So from the factory.
Well, that might have been the cost cutting. That was probably the cost cutting. They had smaller wires than the Cadillac, because it's probably the same setup the Cadillac had, and the Cadillac went up and down real fast because it had more juice.
Yeah. And then they had like those strip regulators on them that they weren't even metal anymore. There was that whole mid-80s GM thing to like, hey, that's brilliant. Let's put plastic strips that really run this up and down, and that won't break.
No, not ever. At all. But they save $5 a car, so
seriously.
Yeah, G Cannon is right here. If you want the most reliable F-150, get a base 6 non-turbo with a 6-speed tranny. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
You can drive that thing around the world because they up until 2020 they made the 3.5 liter non-turbo. That was the base engine.
And the one I
3.5 liter.
told my friend was the 4.2 V6, which was
Oh,
the old school. I mean, he's never had any issues with that at all.
no, that thing's a beast. That seriously, that 4.2 is a beast.
Yeah.
You drive that thing at 200,000 miles.
Actually, he's got about 220,000 miles on it, and the clutch is still good too.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. Seriously? Wow.
We think so. I think it needs to go, but he's optimistic, Archie. So we'll let him have that. But either way, I mean, heck, the vinyl seats must be like must be marine vinyl, because I mean, there's not, and he's a big dude. Those seats, if he actually cleaned them, really look pretty darn good 17 years later.
Wow. Yeah, when they built work trucks to actually last.
Exactly.
Yeah, because now they put cloth in those trucks.
No,
in a work truck, and I'm like, how's this a good idea, putting cloth?
Ugh.
Yes, G Canada, a higher circuit. They put a 30 amp for the Cadillac and only a 20 for the everything else. So that's why it's thicker wires. At the end of the day, it's thicker wires. Less juice, slower motors. It's the way it works. I'm not so sure if they had that 3.3. It was the 3.3, not 3.3. I'm not sure because it's been weird with their lineup. I think wait, let me go check to see if it's still there.
I thought it was, because I don't know what year this was, but I remember when the 3.5 came out, that was like an 07, and it went into the edges. So I don't know if they also put that in the F-150 or not, because back when I was selling F-150s, they specifically still had the 4.2. So I don't know when that transition
They went to the
happened.
3.3. I think they had a 3.5 for, I swear they had a non-turbo 3.5 for a while.
And then it went to 3.7. They upped the displacement went up a little bit for cars. I'm not talking trucks. I don't know.
Let me see.
I'm ignorant on that.
3 liter. V6. Here we go. View V6. And I can see if I can get. Let's see. The cheapest thing. A platinum will not be there. No. Let's see. This is just a random Ford dealership. I just pulled.
Do they still put a V6 in at all? Non-turbo?
That's what I'm trying to find out. If they actually even make that anymore, because here's an STX. All right, here's the bottom. I mean, STX is pretty much the bottom, right?
It's second from the used to be second from the last.
I think it's the low. XLT is now higher than STX.
Yeah, it always has been. Yeah,
yeah. They don't make anything lower anymore. So STX is okay. So here's an STX. $40,000.
Jesus.
That's this V6. Tell me something more. Tell me more. Tell me more. Tech specs. Tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me more. V6. Come on. V6s. Oh, I don't pop-ups. No, thank you. I'm looking. Nope. Twin turbos. That's 2.7. I gotta go to the Ford site, because this is. I'm confused. I don't know if they actually do this. 2026. I honestly, yep, they stopped making in 2023. Yep, I knew it. They literally, you can't get, the only thing you can get without a turbo is the 5 liter.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the only thing you can get without a turbo now in the F-150 is the 5 liter. Because 2.7, 5 liter, 3.5. And that was on the XL. Wow. So that's it, man. So yeah, Ford has no more non-turbos. That's amazing.
Wow.
But you know what? The thing is, their turbos are actually fairly reliable. I mean, honestly, for a turbo engine, they're pretty
Yeah.
reliable. People at the 3.5, people are getting 200,000 out
Yeah.
of them, which is pretty
And it's
impressive.
big enough displacement where you're not stretching that turbo like, a 1.6 turbocharge where you're pushing that engine way too hard.
Or the 4-cylinder that General Motors uses in their trucks.
Right. Yeah. I like that Buick thing, that 1.5. Like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So that's you can't in the stick shift. I think they stopped the stick shifts in 2014.
Long gone.
That
Yeah.
stick shift's been gone forever now.
I know.
It's been over a decade, which sucks.
Yeah.
So you can't even get a truck with a real transmission in anymore.
No.
You're stuck with the automatic, and now you have that 10-speed, which is if you have one of those 10 speeds, make sure you change the transmission fluid every 40,000 miles. I wish I was joking. Change it every 40,000 miles because they are not they have a lot of issues. Not as many as General Motors has with theirs, which is strange. It's the same transmission, but General Motors has more problems.
That's
I don't know, Canada. Their turbo engines actually are the sixes are pretty reliable. Not everything's the EcoBoost, the Echo Boost 3-cylinder that lasts 60,000 miles before you throw it in the garbage.
Oh, then I got an EcoBoost Escape. That little small thing had like a 1 liter 3-cylinder turbo.
1 liter 3-cylinder with a wet timing belt.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely one of the worst engines ever made. Another vehicle I would tell you to run from. Just run from that. Just absolutely run from that car. Don't walk, but run. Just the same as the Chrysler minivan. Don't walk, run. Run to something else. Anything else that actually is good. So I'll wait for Fluno to come back because we could probably wrap this up and the trains, planes, and automobiles. John Candy's character messed with the electric adjustable seats so much that they burnt the motor out. Oh, dear Lord. That's right. Actually, it's so funny. I was at a auto show, and this is when Yugos were out, and I was checking how the stick shift work, and I was shifting it with the clutch in, and the guy said, "Don't do that. You're gonna break the linkage." And I'm like, I'm shifting the car as it should be shifted. Sure. Oh, Barbara DeRush. Yes, you're welcome, Barbara. As always. 1.5 3-cylinder. Don't. Oh, absolutely don't. Yeah. So, it's been fun. Yeah, enjoy. Yeah, no, I'm not going to enjoy the cold. No, it's going to be like 25 Monday morning, and it may friggin' snow. We're not made for this. I have palm trees outside. What are you talking about? Palm trees. Everything in my yard is covered right now. It looks embarrassing. It looks like a friggin' I have laundry out there.
You know what's amazing is that some of my stuff, unfortunately, is like my beautiful Bougainvillea. It was finally. I mean, I keep it trimmed back because it's deadly. I mean, it's very handsy. But man, it's not dead. Oh, I know it's going to come back, but it just was so beautiful, and now it's. Meanwhile, my azaleas, which I trimmed back greatly last year, are flourishing again, and they're blooming. And I'm thinking it's amazing how some, greenery can't take a little bit of cold, and some they don't get bothered at all. So It is what it is. I've covered some things, but yeah, I know. Let nature do its course. It'll come back.
So is that the previous redesign in 2008? That's when they got rid of it. So the generation right before. It's been that long now. Holy Christ! It's been almost 20 years.
My buddy's was an 07. Yeah, so it was an 07, and that was that
thing's still probably worth like 10 grand. No matter what you think of it, it's still because it's a stick shift truck. It's probably worth $10,000 now. It doesn't devaluate. It doesn't go down in price. It just stays. No. Oh my God. But yeah. So hopefully we can We'll survive. We'll survive the cold, and I can do another one of these next week. The only thing with this cold is that, and I will use that term. It's been hard for me to do projects outside for the channel because it's freaking cold. Like,
Yeah.
and I have this. I'm trying to do a video on these alignment plates to do your toe, and I started doing it last week, but I ran out of time because the assistant needed her car, and I was doing it on her car. And I got it a little bit, and it actually looks like they're going to work. And I can't wait to finish this video because these things are dirt cheap, and you can get your steering wheel straight because that's the thing. It does it where how you have that sometimes they don't do it right, and it's a little cockeyed. This actually you have measurements, and you can turn it until you get the toe where it's supposed to be with the steering wheel straight. Done. Barbara DeRush asking me, did you see any lizards flying on trees? Thank God they're south, but my friend lives in a place where they have lots of iguanas, and it's going down to 38. There will be falling iguanas everywhere.
Yeah,
and hopefully they go. Hopefully they get rid of them. This would be a good time to put them in garbage bags and get rid of them because they are an invasive species and they need to go away. I saw iguanas down there as big as dogs. I wish I was joking. No, but. G Canada, of course, hasn't driven a standard in years. I miss it. I can drive a 300 tree and 18 speed, everything in between. Just don't get an opportunity anymore. You need to make some friends that have stick shifts. 3 in a tree is the weirdest, is literally the weirdest stick shift.
Yeah.
It's just, it makes no sense at all. And there's no way to do it quick.
And the whole reason that was like, because originally you were on the floor, and then I went to the 3 on the tree, and my dad was telling me how you would do it, and it's the same layout, but it just doesn't register, right? And the whole reason they did that was, so you have now room for your middle passenger and the bench seat. That was like the whole purpose of look how convenient. And my dad would say it actually having it up here in some ways, because his first car was a 49 Nash. You just kind of had your hand right there, and it was very ergonomic. But to us, it's like, but you're right. There's no real, like, where's your neutral? It just doesn't seem right.
Well, it's when it rattles. Weird. When it rattles, you're neutral.
Yeah.
But then reverse is like, it's like
up and to the left.
Up and you have to do this kind of motion with it.
Yeah. It's an H. It's like, think of like an H pattern on your floor. Yeah, exactly.
It's just, it's up, and then it's 1, 2, 3.
Right. And they put those in, like my pastor's van. It is 75, shag and wagon thing, right? It was called like the Rainbow Connection or something. And so totally 70s. Oh, it was an awesome cruiser. It was a 3 on the tree Chevy 20 van.
That's actually that'd be a collector's item right now because they weren't made long after that.
No.
Think of that. We went within 30 years. We went to the point where you had 3 on the tree to basically, stick shifts started becoming rare.
Yeah.
30 years. So c'est la vie, as they say. Yeah, but it's been really hard to do any of the outside stuff because, it's I just not set up to work in the cold anymore.
No, we're just not. It's just a different environment, no pun intended.
It just sucks. So so that's working. I have a really cool video on a car that I'm working on. I'll just tell you, it's a car that has a Hemi in it that you would never expect it to have a Hemi in it. A 426 Hemi.
All right.
No, it's not even a Chrysler product. It's not even a Chrysler product. I can't wait. I'm working on this video. I can't wait. This thing is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I still, for the life of me, can't figure out how or why. It does fit, though. The Hemi does fit. And it's not a big car. So. Oh, my God. Well, actually, no, G Canada. The 58 Bel Air was actually it's actually not that desirable. They don't like the 58. They don't like the 58. I mean, I think it's a good looking car, but the Chevy faithful really don't like that car.
58 in general was a very gaudy, and the recession happened. Like, you don't see 58 Fords ever. It just was a bad year for not cars, but the economy. And That's why 59s look so different, because the 58s were so Harley Earled. They were
Yes.
so, but it is a good looking car to
Yeah.
our, but for the eyes back then, even they're like, oh, this is a little over the top.
And those 58 to 60 Fords were actually the best Fords ever built. I'll stand on that. They literally had such great quality control then. I mean, they had incredible quality control.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
yet they're
they
not
didn't.
popular.
Yeah, they didn't rattle. I mean, literally, they didn't rattle. There was no rattles in those cars. They were solid, and they got rid of. That's when they were getting rid of the Y blocks, so they actually had better V8s in them. I mean, they were actually decent cars. It's just nobody liked the styling. I mean, for the most part, because they were square. I mean, it was just a square.
They were very square cars for the era. Yes,
It was just perfectly square. Oh my God! So oh man, they made it a farm thing where they took the top off the car and made it a pickup truck. Oof. So they took the whole made it far. Okay. What do you think? What do you think on Hummers? Why are they so popular in the early 2000s? There's a couple of reasons. First of all, it replaced I think it replaced the IROC Z. But it also was because of the Gulf War and seeing them, and it's just this gaudy, flex of a car that's just psychotic in size, and I think it's compensation for a most part too, but also it was a real diesel truck that could go anywhere. I mean, it really was the predecessor to real off-road vehicles. So I think that's why. But the military use of them made them kind of cool to have, and the diesels in them weren't bad. Actually, they were pretty good vehicles. They were I think they used the General Motors diesel was bigger size, but the General Motors owned it. They actually got sued by Chrysler at the time.
Yes. Yep.
Because Jeep has a 7 grill, and they had a 7 grill, but they said their 7 grill was different. And they still lost.
Yeah.
So there you go. But yeah, that's why it had a lot to do with, the desert wars and them being out there, and the flex of having this big thing.
Bling.
Yep. Yeah, and I remember Arnold driving around one of those Hummers all the time back in the 90s. Yep, when Arnold was cool.
And then they made the H2, which is a more civilian, still huge. And it was just it'd be like having a 59 Cadillac back in the day. Like, look, I've arrived.
Yeah, exactly. And then we're not going to talk about the H3, which was really nothing.
Which my friend, Colorado.
Yeah, it's terrible. All right, I think we've covered a lot of ground, and I need to get to sleep. So we've covered a lot of ground. So thank you all for coming here. I'll have a video out, hopefully on that Hemi thing really soon, if I can figure out my schedule. Maybe I'll work on it tomorrow. And we'll have another live next Wednesday. Hopefully it won't be as cold. And hopefully First Brands won't cut. Will still be in existence. We'll have an update. If I don't do a full video, we'll probably have an update on it, because this is bad. This First Brands thing's not going to go away. So there's that. And anything else going on for you, Fluno?
No, actually, I was going to say thank you all for joining us, and thank you again, Dennis, for always having me on here, and for the questions and the great conversations we have on here. It's really enjoyable. Depending on the weather next week up here in northern Florida, might get a different view from the band room. That web camera. That's why I had you send it to my email, because I thought, you know what, it's not that bad out tonight. So we'll see how next week goes. But thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Always a pleasure. Yes, and if watching on replay, you can still hit hype, like, subscribe, please. Thank you. I do this to try to help people and try to pass information along, because this is a car community, and just a little love back would be much appreciated. Thank you so much. All right, so if you have something cool or something fun, just take it out, because, well,
you'll make someone's day, and it will be your own, because you only live once. And with that, we'll end for tonight. If you liked what you saw, subscribe. If you didn't, thank you for watching to this point. And as always, if you have a cool car or something fun to drive, take it out. You'll make someone's day, probably your own.